Hello, I'm Truman, and here's another great verse for today. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 27. But God has chosen the foolish things of this world to confound the wise, and God has chosen the weak things of this world to confound those things that are mighty. This passage has such an impact in my life. When I was a young man in college, I felt so inadequate in so many ways, difficulty in speech, stuttering, and yet God began to deal with my heart about preaching. I felt unqualified to be a preacher. One day I looked at this passage and realized that God indeed is calling each of us to some form of ministry. And notice who he calls. In our mind, we might think that God calls the most talented, the smartest people, the most gifted people. But God often chooses the weak and the foolish because verse 29 tells us that no flesh should glory in his presence. God wants to work in such a way that people look at us and they say, you know what? If God can use them in their weakness, then God can use me, and God gets the glory. If you remember, when God began to choose many of his servants, he chose some that felt inadequate. Think of Gideon. When God chose Gideon, Gideon said, I'm of the smallest tribe, the tribe of Manasseh, and I'm the least in my father's house. And he didn't feel qualified. And yet God chose him to work in a mighty way. But not to make him so mighty, to build such a great army, that this great army was able to deliver them from the Midianites. No, it was the Spirit of God that enabled Gideon to be that weak man who became strong in God, to become that foolish man who was willing to accept God's wisdom and plan to defeat the Midianites. And when Gideon had built up an army of 30,000, God said it's too many, because Israel will glory in themselves if I give them victory. So God reduced the army down to 300. And then God said, with these I will defeat the Midianites. And God alone got the glory. Well, let me encourage you. God wants to use you. And God's eyes are running to and fro to show himself strong throughout the entire world. God is calling you. Each of us have a special task that God wants us to accomplish. But more than that, God is looking for someone that he can show himself strong through. And who is that someone? Well, God is looking for those who are foolish and weak in themselves, that will put their faith and trust in the Lord alone. May you be encouraged, child of God. God can use you, no matter what your abilities. He will enable you. He will equip you. He will empower you. He will give you his word, and the Spirit of God will use you. Whether it's teaching a Sunday school class, whether it's music, whatever the ministry may be, God can use you. God bless you. And another great verse for today.